Professor Black Ops, cybersecurity for the people. You see it, let's get it. Cisco security checks. Of course, they're gonna be the STIGs. Everybody knows Cisco is the 800-pound gorilla in the industry. They're the big dog on the yard. So I'm just gonna walk through some STIGs and a couple an article talking about vulnerabilities. So let's get it. Let's look up the other one. So of course this will be in the description box. We're just gonna skim it. Cisco smart switches riddled with severe security holes, which you think would be a little out of bounds for Cisco. Once again, since they're the 800-pound gorilla and they live on government security, you think that would be a little better. Intro level networking gear for SMB could allow remote attacks designed to steal information and drop malware and disrupt operation. Cisco has flagged and patched several high severity security vulnerabilities in Cisco Small Business 220 series smart switches that will allow section hijacking, arbitrary code execution, cross-site scripting, and HTML injection. So those last two are part of the cross-site scripting in the OWASP Top 20. The OWASP Top 20 has probably been the same for the last 15 years. So you'd think we'd be doing a better job about testing and catching those web vulnerabilities. It also issued fixes for higher severity problems in the AnyConnect Secure mobile client, Cisco DNA Center, and also Cisco Email Security Appliance, along with the slew of patches for medium security vulnerabilities in AnyConnect, Jabber, Meeting Server, Unified Intelligence Server, and WebEx. So here are the high severity CVEs, which stands for Critical Vulnerability Exposures. All in 2021, Cisco Email Security Appliance and Security Web Center Appliance. 1134, Cisco DNA Center, Certificate Validation Vulnerability. 1541 and 1543 and 1571, Cisco Small Business 220 Series Smart Switches, Session Hijacking, Arbitrary Code, Cross-site Scripting, and HTML Injection. 1567, Cisco Connect Anywhere Secure Mobility Client for Windows with VPN posture, hot scan, and module DDL hijacking. So that's a few. That's in the description box. Just some vulnerabilities. The cool thing about Cisco is they did seem to get on them kind of quick and get those patched. Okay, so let's walk through some of the STIGs and through the slideshow. Let's see. So we're going to talk about this specific hardware will be Cisco IOS XR Router RTR Security. So Cisco IOS XR Router, a simple, modern, and trustworthy networking operating system, reduce operational complexity with the new modernized XR7, which deliver greater modularity, a simplified networking stack, and cloud-enhanced automation for improved programmability. For this version of Cisco, it has 101 checks, 10 highs, 61 mediums, and 30 lows. So the 10 highs means those are vulnerabilities. They actually out in the wild and actually been used to break into other Cisco routers. So those checks should be fixed and closed immediately. So I actually go over about 6 or 7 of those high level checks. Vulnerabilities 216743 is a high. Cisco router must be configured to restrict traffic destined to itself. The route process handles traffic designed to the router, the key component used to build forward path, and is instrumental with our network traffic management function. Hence, any disruption or DDoS attack to the router processor can result in mission critical outages. So for this one, we're going to review the external and internal ACLs to verify that the router is configured to only allow specific management and control plane traffic from a specific source and is destined to itself. Verify all ACLs has been configured as shown in the example below that matches an expected control plane and management plane traffic, with the exception of ICMP traffic. All other traffic is destined to router will be dropped. So they want you to configure an external ACL inbound interface. So vulnerability 21.6.752 is high. Cisco perimeter router must be configured to deny network traffic by default and allow network traffic by exception. A denial permit exception network communication policy ensures that only connections are essential and approved are allowed. The requirement applies to inbound and outbound network traffic. All inbound and outbound traffic must be denied by default. The firewall and perimeter router should only be allowed traffic that is explicitly permitted. So when you're a large company, any firewall rule or any application need to go inside or out, or any outside vendors that need to come in, or we're going to actually open a specific port for that entity, internal or external. So one of the things that this brought about was the specific check was for solar winds. Because for solar winds to work, they actually had to go outside the organization, pick up a payload, and bring it in. So the question was, if all outbound traffic was denied unless specifically granted, solar winds should not have happened because that product shouldn't have been able to get out to get the payload to actually start the attack. So a lot of companies, to make it easier, basically any traffic that's created internally, they explicitly let all that traffic allow out because they assume anything created behind the firewall by the company was good. But obviously that was wrong since firewall got inside the company firewall. The Cisco perimeter router must be configured to protect the enclave connected to the alternate gateway by using an inbound filter that only permits packets with destination address within the address space. Enclaves with alternate gateway connections must take additional steps to ensure the compromise of the enclave network, or NIPRLnet, which for public would be the corporate network, without verifying the destination address coming from this alternate site gateway. The perimeter router should be routing transfer data from the internal network out to the corporate network. So basically, piggybacking on the other one, all that traffic should be co-signed. Usually there's two gateways, a default gateway and an alternate gateway. So those same permissions should be put on the alternate gateway also. The Cisco perimeter router must be configured not to be a border gateway protocol, PGP peer, to an alternate gateway service provider. ISP uses BGP to share route information with other autonomous systems, i.e. other ISPs and corporate networks. If the perimeter router was configured to be PGP peer with an ISP, the corporate route could be advised to the ISP, thereby creating a backdoor connection from the internet to the corporate network. Right, so the PGP gateway would do an initiation to the ISP gateway. At PGP, right, they're going to negotiate an open tunnel or open port, right, because they're going to share information, right. That's what the BGP protocol does. We don't want to share our information with the unknown entity, ISP, or actually any other company that's not affiliated with us. The Cisco P router must be configured to have each virtual routing and forward routing VRFN instance bound to the appropriate physical or logical interface to maintain traffic between all MLP L3 VPNs. The primary security model for the LP3 VPN infrastructure is traffic separation. The service provider must guarantee the customer's traffic from one of the VPN does not leak into another VPN or into the core. That core traffic must not leak into any VPN, hence the imperative that each CFI facing interface can only be associated with one virtual interface. That alone is the fundamental framework for traffic separation. So a lot of times you have customers coming in on VPN, you got internal virtual LAN for your management, you got internal virtual LANs for your application. You don't want those that, like they say, bleed into each other or cross traffic or basically pollute. You want to control all traffic. Your management should be under your management, your internal corporation, than your external traffic, right? Then if they need to communicate, right, there's special hosts so that they shouldn't automatically end up over there because the router was misconfigured. Now you misrepresenting traffic or commingling traffic. The Cisco PE router must be configured to block any traffic that's destined to the IP core infrastructure. The IP networking providing VPN and transit service must provide at least the same level of protection against denial of service attacks and intrusion as a layer 2 network. Although the IP core network elements are hidden, security should never rely entirely on obscurity. IP addresses can be guessed. The core network element must not be accessible from any external host. Protecting the core from any attack is vital to the integrity and privacy of customers' traffic, as well as the availability of the transit service. Vulnerability 2017-005. The Cisco perimeter router must be configured to restrict IP traffic from accepting IP packets that are containing illegitimate addresses in the source address field for egress filter or by enabling unicast reverse path forwarding. A compromised host in an enclave can be used to maliciously platform and launch cyber attacks to third parties. This is a common practice in botnets, which are a collection of compromised computers using malware to attack other computers on the network. DDoS attacks frequently leverage IP source address spoofing to send packets to multiple hosts that in turn will send return traffic to the host with the IP address that were forged. This can generate a significant amount of traffic. Therefore, protection measures to counter IP source address spoofing packets must be taken. The URRF is enabled to restrict mode. The packets must be received on the interface. That device will be used to forward the return packets, thereby mitigating IP source address spoofing. So you get a lot of attacks like the Smurf attack, where they're actually forging address packets and leaving those packets out there to take all the memory up. So these settings handles those type of spoofing traffic that hackers like to do to make a botnet, like they said, or a DDoS attack. So we're going to look at some other Cisco products. This is the classic 3-tier architecture with 3 VLANs, web server, app server, and a database. Over here is our management LAN. So typically, your Cisco router, you would create those VLANs, and they would just communicate, and you would control the traffic in between those LANs. Right, only the web server traffic can talk to the app server, and on the app server traffic can talk to the database. Right, so that's the classic VLAN. This is Zero Trust from AWS. It's the same as the one we just looked at. These are just the AWS nomenclature in there. So same thing. So anything you can do on-prem with Cisco, you can do on AWS with Cisco. So just kind of stepping through a few things. So Cisco has a couple other products. Now we're going to talk about Zero Trust at a high level. So Duo, protection your workforce with simple and powerful access security. Duo modern access security is designed to safeguard all your users, devices, and applications so you can stay focused on what you do best. So Duo is the first thing we're going to look at is inventory of authorized and unauthorized users. And the second thing we're going to look at is inventory of authorized and unauthorized software. So Duo includes operating system, platform, browser, plugin version, passcodes, screen locks, and full disk encryption, rooted and jailbroken status. With Duo Beyond, you also get insight on a company-owned versus personal devices. This has the ability to create application-level access policies, determine which user devices can access certain applications. Duo Trusted Endpoint features allow you to track managed devices by easily dropping client certificates on company-owned endpoints. So what Duo does, when you put it on your laptop or even on your phone, it knows that device is owned by your corporation. So now when you log into the corporate network, I know if that device should be on the corporate network. Right? So if it's controlled and owned by the company with that certificate in, I can say what VLANs you can get into, web server, application server, database. Those are the endpoints. So Duo helps me keep track of inventory, and it gives me control policies and which VLANs I can get to with that device. And also Duo will give you the health of your device. So if you look out there, this guy's logged on in. It says an iOS issues detected. Touch ID and the Face ID is not enabled. So if you needed that type of authentication to get to a certain environment, maybe be the payroll, manufacturing, or your backend device. If the Touch ID and the Face ID was not enabled, I would not let that user get back to those critical services until they actually got that fixed. Right, and the other three lines, Duo mobile app is updated. So you know if somebody's been trying to hack that device, screen lock is enabled, and device is not jailbreak. So now I know the health of that device. If you look at the top, it's 60%. So with a 60% health device, what inventories or what devices or what application would I let a user with 60% get into? What devices would I let 80% or 90% or 100 now, right? Now, since I know that risk of your device is 60%, now I can make decisions about what inventory applications or devices or iOS, Internet of Things, would I let that device connect to, right? So those are some of the things, other products that Cisco owns that help in the zero trust network. The other thing, real quick, is Cisco Secure Workload. You used to call it Tetration. In the middle it says workload. What applications are used in the enterprise? What is the communication within the application and data? Is the communication within the workload secure and trusted? Right? So Cisco Secure Workload could tell you, even though I have access to this VLAN and there's three other applications running on those VLANs, I can only get to the manufacturing application on that, right? So I can secure the workload, right? So if I try to actually do a east and west traffic on there, even though there's three apps on that VLAN, if I try to jump from manufacturing to accounting, and Cisco workload knows I don't have access to accounting, it'll block me, right? So that's kind of what workload does at a high level. So workload is micro-segmentation and cloud workload protection, achieve security required for today heterogeneous multi-cloud environment with Cisco Workload, formerly Tetrations, protects workloads across any cloud, application, workload anywhere, implement a zero trust model for a micro-segmentation based on the application behavior and telemetry. Proactive detection and remediation indicator compromise to minimize the impacts to your business, right? So the big thing now is east and west traffic inside your environment, right? So Tetration / secure workload controls your east and west traffic. Even though you're on that VLAN, it still is going to control what applications you can get to on that VLAN. So this is kind of a picture. So that's the Cisco workload Tetration. Is looking at the Cisco Firewall Manager. Those are the firewalls at the top. Those are VMs at the bottom with the little blue circles. That's the workload. So that tells you in that workload with those policies which one of those VMs you can get to and work on. Right. So if the top three, if you were only supposed to get the middle one, because remember, I know your policy, I know your IP address. So now I know what workloads and what VMs that make up that workload and what workloads you should be able to get to. Right. So now we're talking about application partitioning inside your environment, right? So Cisco has a plethora of products, but that's one I think the next level is we got your VLANs together, we controlling your traffic. Now the micro segmentation is which one of those VLANs, which one of those VMs can you get to on that VLAN, right? See that VLAN, you have access to everything on that VLAN, but there could be three applications run on that VLAN. You're actually only supposed to get to two of those, right? So Tetration can control what workloads and what VMs you can get to for that workload in that VLAN. So that's it. I want to do something quick today. I'm sure I'm gonna go live and dig into this. And also in July, I'm actually gonna start setting up labs where we're gonna actually spin up those VPCs and those VLANs inside AWS. And I think I can get a Tetrations license for the secure workload and see what that looks like. In this VLAN, what VMs can I get to make a micro segmentation into that VLAN, right? So once again, just going over a couple STIGs. Shout out to the Cisco family. Professor Black Ops, cybersecurity for the people. Have a great day.